Okay, last we left Asuka off. She was told by Glacier that this would be his most dangerous mission yet, and that if he doesn't come back in time, to expect the worst. Asuka, of course, remained optimistic, although she did have a very fleeting feeling that this would be the last time she saw him again. However, she quickly forgot it and ate the snack they left for her. It's been a couple months since then, and it's almost close to his deadline. However, Asuka has, of course, remained optimistic, albeit things haven't really gone that well for her since he left. Due to the growing tensions between the Saiyans and other races, is within the galaxy, and of course them being viewed as nothing but a bunch of mindless apes and barbarians on a wider scale. Now, more Kojins have actually been hounding her, and actually a couple have even attacking her outright. Right, of course, Glacier's scientist friends have been helping her whenever they can. They even helped celebrate her birthday while he was gone. One of the few birthdays one of the only birthdays she's had where Glacier was not present and couldn't give her a gift, which has never really happened to her before, as he's always been there. Even when he was really busy, he always found time. So she only ate half as much as he usually would have, leaving actually a lot of leftovers, which actually worried the scientists, so they gave her a bunch of gifts to help cheer her up. But even that only went so far, as she was only cracked a smile a little here and there. But she did appreciate their gifts. So with that, Asuka is now current. But with that, Asuka then remembers all the tough things he's done in the past couple months, as he is now faced with her old rival, Ice Drop. Unfortunately for who has actually been attacking her more and more often now. Now, even considering how often she already did it before, that was actually somewhat concerning. And she must have heard the news about what was happening on Planet Vegeta and considered Asuka was more of a threat than ever before. At first, she was just like a bully or something, or she tried to bully Asuka. But now she actually believes Asuka didn't deserve to live on this planet even more, and she was willing to wipe her out if need be. As Ice Drop had always just wanted to push around Asuka, but this time it felt like she was actually trying to either seriously injure or kill her. Me and Asuka was pretty much in a fight for survival ever since Glacier left. Now she of course did keep up her hidden one tactics due to her aforementioned unavailable Zenkai ability that he couldn't find in her. And since he doesn't want to die to find that out, Dao will be left in a position where she literally can't move and have to sit still and heal. Learning long ago that sitting still and waiting around gets you killed, she's always constantly on the move, always healing her wounds over the next couple of days quickly, and having gotten out of even more fights than she usually did at this point, actually. So last time we left Asuka off, she actually had a power level of around 30,089. This time around, she's been in even more fight than last time. So let's just say she was in 20 more. But however, she's also had to choose them way more carefully, because even stronger Okosians have actually come hunting for her. So she's now about 20,000. So she's now at a power level of around, let's see, we're gonna say she was in 5 more fights up to now, and that would be around 20, so that would be 20 times 100, would be 2,000. She's at a power level around 5,820 right now. 5,820. 5,820 is her power level so right now. But then as she's fighting ice, but unfortunately for her, our Kosians do have more potential than Saiyans, you know, without the Saiyan in, you know, transformations like the Great Ape or Super Saiyan. But either way, our Kosians didn't have more potential than a regular Saiyan would. And as of right now, Asuka hasn't found those reserves in her yet. So of course, naturally, Ice Drop has gotten even stronger than she has. As in fact, Ice Drop now has a power level of around 3,000. Ice Drop actually has a power level now of around 8,100. 100. Meaning she's over 3,000 plus stronger than Asuka. Good. This is pretty much and unlike the others who eventually gave up on hunting her, Ice Drop has never given up and has continuously been a bane to Asuka ever since he first met her. And just now, they see it actually ambushed Asuka by punching her across the Kosian city into the wastelands across them. Think like that wasteland where Vegeta and Goku fought, except way rockier or way more jagged parts, which Asuka unfortunately fell on. The rocks didn't hurt her, but the punch straight to her chest, which almost ruptured her heart, kinda did. It did. Causing her to cough up blood and for her vision to become hazy as less blood was flowing through her body, only barely managing to stand up and looking at the sight and looking at the large bruise on her chest from the shearing punch that Ice Drop had left, only for Ice Drop to show up sporting a new gear, sporting even more piercings as well as actually putting more and more piercings in on her body, as well as having larger hair. Sporting more and more piercings on her body, as well as having a more eloquent, more battle styled outfit. Now, I didn't mention this before, but Ice Drop actually is slightly more trained than Asuka in terms of fighting. And hence he did get the upper hand in the first two fights he had. However, Ice Drop did slack off in her training, whereas Asuka kept hers up while Glacier was gone. And while training with a partner is more beneficial, she's kind of had the weaker thugs to train with. You know, and by training I mean she just hunts them down and practices moves she found out on them. So both of them are still very much rough and tumble fighters. Neither one is a martial artist master, but they are both still highly experienced in terms of combat. That and Saiyans are already naturally skilled in fighting, so there's that. But even with all that Asuka's still fighting someone who's about 22. She's fighting someone who's plus 3,000 stronger than she is, which is a pretty big deficit. Until you realize that Vegeta managed to fight Zarbon in his final form, even when you'll just see as I go on. So Asuka looks up at Ice Drop, and Ice Drop just smiles at her as the Saiyan struggles to stand up, only to fire her eye, only to pick up her tail and fire a blast out from it, causing it to hit Asuka straight into the legs, straight into the legs. Oh, it's firing into her, and as Asuka tumbles down, only for her to flip over and start running to the side, dodging the other tail laser shots as Ice Drop even uses her eyes to fire laser blast at her as well, humming a tune along the way as he tries to incinerate, tries to blast a hole straight through Asuka, until Asuka hides behind a couple of rock formations blocking their sight. And considering that neither one of them can really sense ki, and Ice Drop doesn't have a scouter, but she really can't find out where she is. However, considering that Kid Go, and I'm not sure if the person who made Asuka made her be able to sense ki at this moment, but considering that Saiyans have better battle instincts as well, and that Vegeta has better battle instincts, and that Kid Goku managed to sense it from healing from the poisoned water, it's likely she doesn't have the full ability of battle sensing, but she can at least, relatively tell where she is. That, and also Saiyans have enhanced senses, so she could probably smell Ice Drop on her. Noting that Ice Drop does smell like... Ice Drop does have a faint sense of lavender smell, or like a type of Arcosian flower or whatever. Noting she must be a florist of some kind. And so with the animals, causing a bunch of animals around, so the ice formations so the rock formations are blasted apart. It causes a bunch of animals in the background to be thrown apart as their habitat is destroyed. Asuka hides with Ice Drop trying furiously to punch through the rocks, going all over trying to find Asuka. So Asuka sneaks up behind her and ends up actually being hurt. Ice Drop by the neck and ramming her, knee straight into her back right where her kidney would most likely be. And she does it again and again and again, just kneeing her into Ice Drop actually starts to cough up blood. But then Ice Drop to get the upper hand as he literally pulls Asuka back with her tail. Only for Asuka to grab her with her tail and pull her back as well, with the two of them tumbling to the ground. Ice Drop ends up on top as he just begins to mount Asuka, punching her repeatedly in the face. With Asuka's nose getting broken in the process. Says then when she's about to deliver the final move, Asuka actually copies an ability. Asuka actually begins Asuka instinctively manages to home 9. And when we're there, they're not coming okay. Then with all that, as all this is happening, and Asuka's mind is just racing. She doesn't want to die before she even meets Glacier again. And some part of her just hope if she ever does this, but she quickly wipes it away. No, she will meet him again. Even if she has to, no matter what she has to do it. So she quickly grabbing Ice Drop's arm and twisting her body until she crashes it in a log, or in an improvised log. Really, she's just kind of gripping it with her body. Ice Drop tries to force her off, summoning a lightning shock that courses through Asuka's veins. But through sheer force of will, Asuka just forces it off. As he twists Ice Drop's arm until eventually Ice Drop's arm pops right out of its socket as young Arcosian holds a dangling limb. As Asuka jumps away, bloodied and beaten, but still very much in the fight. At this point, Ice Drop is completely enraged. But Asuka is more so just determined not to die. Still in ways that Ice Drop's trying so hard to just wipe off the face of Uzia, or the planet of the demons. Looking up at her, Asuka just is wondering. She looks at her and says, "Why? at her. I know we've always had a bit of a rivalry, but why are you doing this? I haven't done anything too bad to any of you. What is this payback for me? For me causing you that scar you have on your face, on your cheek right there. There for the for that little knot that's on the back of your head from months back. Asuka asks as he looks at Ice Drop. Ice Drop just stares venom at her as he begins to speak. He in a cold, calculated voice. No, stop. Ice Drop looked at Asuka in her face. I just steaming barely kept with it, momentum. This is all you. It's all your fault. I lost everything because of you. You Ice Drop game. So go whatever it is. White hook is it? Hook is it? It's a club go. But if things happen, so go here. What's Mike left me. Left down on me more than I already did. As he knees and goes straight in the gut. And that gut. And then takes her one hand and tosses her. Don't walk for me, freaking at the pebbles as it falls down onto her. It's all your fault. I could have been. I was at the top of the delinquents here. I was the boss. I was the and then you had to come along and ruin all of it. Every time. But at first you were just some nuisance I wanted to get rid of. Someone that didn't deserve to be on the planet. That's it, go back to your own monkey, own world. But then you started to get irritating. You started to beat me. You started to surpass me. Even. And then I had to. It wasn't for my words that I had a few weeks ago. You might have actually been winning this fight. But no more. But that's not what's going to happen this time. This is gonna be like the last two times. Because this time, you're not getting away from here alive. I drop, takes up, I drop, grabs her left shoulder and relocates it back and the place would allow blood as he then takes the same hand, as he then takes her right hand and fires a blast at Asuka. Asuka with her just bit at the ground at the walk where Asuka should be, black and vibrating them into nothing but atoms the minute they touch it. She didn't look on it. She didn't look on it. She's sure that this might. She didn't look on it. On it, she thinks that Asuka might be dead. So she stops a bit to the west. No, wait. Until she snaps her head, but no, wait, no. That little that little monkey bitch isn't dead yet. She always manages to survive. I need to find her. And I need to take her out before. Find her and take her out. And so, why does he say there's a Asuka X? So he did manage to somewhat. But as he said, there's a Asuka manages to poke through the ground underneath. As he had somehow managed to bury herself in the ground fast enough before the blast would have possibly done severe damage. He breathes heavily as he spits out a tooth or two. Quickly putting them. Spits out a tooth or two. No, not those. Two from her mouth. Only to quickly jam them back in, and so that they could quickly jam them back in, and not wanting to look worse than she already did. Asuka then just stands there and sits there and begins to think. as Ice Drop looks for her. And you're not going to get Ice Drop then begins to go look for Asuka, knowing that she's still alive. However, even though she might not want to admit it, in her mind, that little monkey, that horns, monkey did more damage to me than I thought. I can't. My shoulder still hurts. But it's back in place. I can barely move it. And I don't even know where. On top of that, there's so much dust everywhere from that attack earlier. Yeah, I can't even see it, or just see anything. And if it gets away this time, I might not. Time to just give him more time to get strong. No, I need to end this here. I stop then, keep walking, looking for her, blasting any and all places that she's likely to hide. Knowing from having fought her many times in the past, as into within a 100-foot diameter of her, there's really no place to hide. And then she just stands there waiting. If Asuka wants to make a move, she'll have to come into the open. And with no distractions in the way, it will just be one slap. It will just be a one kill for her. So Ice Drop just stands there with her arm, with her left arm swelling a bit as a bruise to form, as well as a kick, as well as that knee from earlier actually. Almost, what's going to kill is. And she begins to forward her legs. She just stares at him. And she just stares off, waiting for some good anything next. Is that into it? What into it? Next. What's the matter, Asuka? You're scared. You should be. 'Cause this ends now. Like I keep saying, you're going to die. Today. I just can't allow you to live. My weapon. Just standing right behind another case, just completely weak. As Asuka's just standing right there behind. And one thing, breathing heavily as he realizes that her life is really on the line here. And even though she might not want to admit it, she's going to probably have to kill Ice Drop right here and now just to live. Unlike most. Well, Ice Drop starts forming in a large energy blast. That's yours. That keeps growing and growing in size until it's big, as big as a small. Knowing what he's about to do a effect attack that could most likely wipe Asuka out when it touches her. At this point, good now, had to come to full terms with what he's about to do. He concentrates on energy into her hand. His technique isn't perfected yet, but it will have to do if he's going to win this. Asuka takes a deep breath as her hands start to glow with a fiery aura. Starting to shine. But she keeps the light dim so that as not to alert Asuka like Ice Drop. However, even with the dimmed light, it still shines radiantly. As it begins to become more and more prominent, glowing almost like a miniature sun. And as Asuka looks on at Ice Drop's icy cold ball as the air around her starts to freeze. He's knowing that if it would have hit her, it would cause severe hypothermia, or even freeze her completely solid. And right now, that's not something she can deal with. Especially not since Ice Drop kept catching her before she could have a decent meal, meaning that for the last couple of days, he was actually been quite starving. And that's not even to mention the fact that she still was reeling from that lucky hit Ice Drop got on her a few hours ago during into the fight. So with all this being said, Asuka starts to become more and more in tune with her environment as she quiets her mind, sensing out for Ice Drop, sensing the ever-rising powers he's emitting into the attack. However, as he's emitting power into the attack, that also means that she's also so unhinged at the moment. He's also taken away from her defenses. Asuka knows this is her chance to take her out, and as much as she doesn't want to admit it, she's gonna have to risk brutally mangling her, possibly even killing her, if it means taking her out. Asuka's mind starts to go through all the moral implications of what she's about to do. Maybe she doesn't have to. She could talk. No. She could talk. No. It's like Glacier said before he left. Told her. She would need to take at any given point. She need to take care of herself. And if he was ever away, that's what she would have to do. So with those things in mind, and knowing that if she dies here, she will never be able to see Glacier again. Only for her to realize that this is what she needs to do. Sharing some of the flame in her left hand, she begins to make them both burn brighter and brighter. She senses for Ice Drop's key. Ice Drop begins as Ice Drop's key, and which isn't hard considering that she is hidden underground somewhat. She's actually quite tuned into her environment more so than Ice Drop. Having superior keys than most other Saiyans means he didn't have to rely on technology that Ice Drop was most likely to put her forward. But it's only at its best when she's really calm as of right now due to her young age. Punching her fist into the ground, rising above the ground, and suddenly and punching her fist into in view of Ice Drop, Asuka yells two words. She comes into view. Ice Drop simply thinking she has a death wish, or that she chose to die quickly. Smiling when manically as he begins to toss the blast into her face, only for her feet to start feeling really warm. She starts to pay it no mind as he thinks it's just her blood rushing through her veins, the excitement of killing a monk. And then her feet start to get even warmer as the ground starts to smoke. Then Ice Drop's concentration starts to wane as her ice spear begins to just start to melt on top of her. The key making up the ice actually dripping from the energy coming from beneath her. She's so distracted, and then if she wasn't distracted now, Asuka's next words surely would do the trick. Asuka had been going back and forth over a name for this new technique, over anything she could think of, but then she came up with one. Well, more like Glacier came up with one. Glacier had always, despite his name, Glacier's always been quite fond of fire techniques, or melting his key into a flame like his flame sword ability. He'd also passed this fascination with fire to Asuka, who took to her radiant personality, took to it quite easily. And she had actually been practicing this move with Glacier before this. As she wanted to show him she perfected when he got back, but unfortunately for her, Ice Drop would be the first one to witness it. And luckily for her, she had just come up with a name for it that she wished Glacier had heard. He would have been so proud. Heard. Maybe she'll tell it to him when he gets back. He'll be so proud. Bonfire! Yeah, and Suddenly a large eruption of ki, like a volcano, erupts right underneath Ice Drop as her body is scorched with third-degree burns all over. As a piercing yell of agony is heard across the canyon until eventually there is no more sound, and as there's no more screaming Ice Drop to be seen. Asuka looks on at the massive craters he made as the surroundings around her is charred and scorched by the massive amounts of heat. Some of the items in the way haven't been completely atomized, only for her to just float away. Only then, after she looks at that, Asuka then starts to look up, feeling a faint ki sense as Ice Drop's body just falls to the ground, heavily wounded and almost dead. And Ice Drop looks up at Asuka with just burning rage resentment, but for some reason, no real hatred, just a desire to take her out. She crawls over to Asuka as he grabs her, as he pulls herself up on her clothes and grabs her by the neck, but there's no strength at all in her strangle. And she just coughs out a wad of smoke as he just falls onto Asuka's arms. Asuka just looks at the prone body of Ice Drop as he falls to the ground. Her wounds starting to take their toll pretty soon. She'd probably be dead soon if she were to leave her here. Asuka couldn't do that. She grabbed Ice Drop by her tail, and using the last of her, and using the only strength she had, started to carry the Arcosian delinquent back into town. After a couple minutes, after about an hour, she had reached the local hospital, where she dropped off Ice Drop up to the local Arcosian doctors. But unfortunately for her, that the act of dragging Ice Drop here and the act of unleashing such a powerful attack at that moment in time, as well as her not having eaten for days, on top of the wounds she sustained, Asuka doesn't even make it out the front door before she just faints from sheer exhaustion. Her tiredness and her wounds and her lack of eating having taken their toll on her as well. And the doctors are now just left with two delinquent girls to take care of. It's at this point, however, that when Asuka wakes up a couple of hours later, she's surprised to see that she feels a lot better. Her and Ice Drop were actually put into 2 medical chambers, was healing both of the wounds. Asuka kind of annoyed because he didn't really like this much, as he always hated hospitals from that time when Glacier took her to one, and the doctors summarized that Arcosian medicine would fit for a Saiyan child when she had a cold in time. It wasn't even really a cold. She just told Glacier was the sniff. She just sneezed a couple times that day, but he didn't believe her and wanted to make sure she was alright. Needless to say, the medicine left her puking her guts out for about a couple of days. Her system reacted to it that badly. Ever since then, she has never really trusted doctors with her health. Especially after the fact they said it must have been their fault because they took it wrong. And then Glacier had to pretty much take Asuka away as he almost strangled the doctor. The doctors present. And by almost, I mean he absolutely did. But at this point, Asuka looks over in her healing chamber to see Ice Drop in hers. Ice Drop had eyes that only just opened, and she just glared at Asuka. Asuka, but both of them were in the chambers and there was nothing they could really do. Until Asuka's chamber dinged, signifying she was ready to be let out. She got out of her chamber quite quickly. And managed to just... She got out of her chambers quite quickly. And then went to leave until a doctor stopped her and said, "Listen, you might be just another delinquent monkey, but we still have our professions to worry about. Send her for an examination." And he then put like a power level reading device up to Asuka, only to bring it back down and admit, power level of 6,000 and 6,400. Power level of 6,409. No, 6,500. Not bad. Not for a child. Now kindly leave. Leave, please. We're attending to our real clients that actually pay us. And he just kind of roughly shoos Asuka out of the hospital. Asuka takes catching one last glimpse of Ice Drop as Ice Drop just signs a signal saying, "I'll meet you again." And now we'll meet again signal, and then just goes back to healing as her wounds were vastly more severe than Asuka's. Asuka gets out of the hospital and then realizes what the doctor said. Wait, but power had increased? But she's not supposed to be getting any Zenkai boost. I think that's what Glacier said. Could it be that they were wrong? It's at this point that Asuka honestly starts to feel good. Like, really, really good. It's like, wow, I feel great. Is this what other Saiyans go through when they experience this bigger boost in power? It wasn't that really big a boost, maybe just a small percentage increase. But to someone like Asuka, who had to basically grind her way to power like this for a couple of weeks, this was perfect. A couple of weeks to probably months, this was perfect. She just started to scale up the hospital, much to the doctors shouting at her to get down. And then she started jumping from roof to roof, backflipping, front flipping. All movements just seemed to be so easy now. It was amazing. She felt like she was dreaming. Man, this was perfect. Like, Sue, if she kept up like this in a while, she could honestly be stronger than Glacier's pretty soon. Surpassing Glacier at this point was her goal, getting stronger than her caretaker so she could be the one taking of him, or paying him for his kindness, as in taking her in. So after the training, and she begins to just do epic parkour tricks. She starts taking up walls. Was wall running, monkey balling across the massive city of Arcosia, one of the capital cities. He's just all in all being a nuisance to everyone as he just grabs random food off the table and eats all of it. It doesn't matter, donuts, hot dogs, even a salad. He just didn't care. He just wanted to eat to get this feeling of euphoria out into the open. She begins to just do all of this in the best way she possibly can. And until she's starting to feel so good, she actually decides to just march right up to Glacier's old home, and then begins to knock on the door. Glacier's father actually opens up, and Asuka looks up at him smiling. "What the hell do you want, you monkey?" Asuka just looks up at him and smiles. I was wondering when Glacier was getting home. I've been kind of worried for a while, so I was kind of nervous. He's dead! Asuka just looks at his dad's face, eye deadpan. Her tail actually dropping from the once exuberant state he was in, as he just surveys the man closely, saying that he'd actually been very heavily crying, and not only has he been crying, but his house is a mess, almost as if he just thrown things out of frustration. Taking her look, almost as if he's reading her mind, and he says, "Yes, he's gone. He's deceased. He's left. Just like you should." He didn't slam the door in her face. He just goes back to wrecking his house, yelling about how his son had never had that fascination with those insolent, pitiful monkeys. And if he had just focused on his own ways, this never would have happened. But why did he need to go to Vegeta? Why did he need himself to try to make anything close to peace with those primates? He didn't just keep ranting on and on about how he should have spent his life just so he would. But at the end of the day, he was just hurt that his son died. Even Asuka realized this, as he didn't even really pay attention to that last sentence from him. So he just kind of sat there in shock, right on the porch. She sat there for a good hour, half an hour, or just letting the information sink in. Glacier's really dead? She thought to unconsciously cry as she repeats the words to herself. So, until she just kind of literally slaps herself out of it, to say, no, you must be wrong. There's no way Glacier would die on Vegeta. He's already stronger than he's already stronger than the king of that planet. So there's no way he'd be dead just from that. There's no way. Yeah. She then starts, and then instead of parkouring like she usually do, she just takes flight and towards the city, easily reaching the space pod Glacier told her about before, saying that if he didn't come back, it would be her to live amongst her own kind, or at least people that resembled her own kind enough for her to blend in, just enough to avoid detection. Filling the case of the space pods, he looks at the supplies he already has inserted into it. Enough food to pretty much last a normal person for like a few weeks, or in this case, last a Saiyan a few hours. Or days if she rations it enough. Then there's also enough. And also, as well as the gift that the scientist has given her. Asuka then just begins to look into the amount of stuff that she would have. She pulls out she hadn't really opened the present bag yet that her friends had given her. She peeked into it and seen what was inside. She kept it there just in case, as maybe there'd be something to cheer her up if everything went down. She didn't want to spoil it just yet, so she just kept it there for now. Asuka just sits on the ship as he begins to just go over the events that have occurred up to now. She had pretty much just been killed by someone she thought was just a friendly rival, and her guardian may or not be dead, and even if he wasn't, he would take him a long time to get back. And the people here on the cozy were growing more and more frustrated by her mere existence every day. It was at this point that Asuka just came to understand that if Glacier really didn't show up, she really didn't have a place here. Once Ice Drop healed, she'd probably be gone for a few weeks, but then she'd be back and she'd be sure to finish the job this time. Glacier's dad obviously didn't want her around, and she was just kind of pondering her place, like, why? there's so much hate just because of who I am. I mean, yeah, I cause trouble, and yeah, I kind of do shoplift, and I pick fights with other kids, but so does a lot of the other delinquents on this planet. They don't get it nearly as worse as I do. Asuka just puts her head into her knees as she starts to cry softly at the situation, more so for Glacier's well-being, until she hears a loud boom above the city. Everyone hears a loud boom. Looking up, she sees that there's actually a space pod, an Arcosian space pod coming down from the clouds, and it's Glacier's spaceship. Casting all of her unhappy and uncertain feelings to the side, he quickly flies to the landing pads he's sure they will land at, only for it to not land on a landing pad and instead fly directly through an Arcosian skyscraper, and then land on top of another building as it crushes it and some of the occupants within. At this point, any hope Asuka had is quickly gone. Whoever's in that ship must have overpowered Glacier and taken it from him. He flies all the way over there at top speed, getting there in a matter of seconds as he floats in front of the hangar, only for the occupants of the actual ship to come out and look at her. And to Asuka's great surprise, this is possibly the first time she's ever seen another Saiyan in person. He was a bit of a bulky man. Think someone like Nappa, but a bit less buff. Like someone like Rocky Balboa. Yeah, that Rocky Balboa. He had a body of a professional boxer, but the face of one of those mustache twirlers, and his tail was hanging proudly off his waist to the side. He was decked out and he looked like he was decked out in some form of armor, some form of brown Saiyan armor. Looking around the city of Arcosia as his eyes focus on the small Saiyan girl from Universe 9. So he reaches out and actually starts to just rub her head as Asuka just kind of shoos him off. Who would have thought we'd meet one of our... No, I might need another voice for that one. He just looks at Asuka gruffly. Who would have thought we'd meet one of our own here, boys? And then as he says this, two more Saiyans pour out, both of them smaller but more swole. So both of them small but still swole and muscled. And the two of them actually seeming to somewhat be twins. One has a top knot. Both have top knots and both carrying some form of black. And both of them also have on armor similar to the apparent commanding officer. So also for some reason both of them have scars on either side of their necks, on the opposite side of the other. They also both of them just nod in confirmation to him as the officer looks at Asuka, extending his hand. And Asuka's always this time just been looking at his face until he actually gestures to himself in this scenario, causing Asuka to look over him, and then he sees something plastered on his chest that just makes her blood run cold. She points at the chest piece on it that adorns his armor, and she's like, "Where did you get that?" And then the Saiyan, the older Saiyan man quickly finishes saying his name. I see you noticed. I, Tanger, have just been granted this had just been given a gift. You see, some Arcosian came on the planet a while ago. And, well, me and my friends didn't take kindly to a frost demon sticking his nose where it didn't belong. So, all of us together, we stuck it out. We went. And when the full moon came, we jumped. I barely remember half of the fight, but I do remember how oh so satisfying it was to see him evaporate into nothing. In fact, he knew what our plan was. He knew it was just a ruse to lure his kind there so we could steal their ships and come here and take their planet. Once we're almost done with taking the one that we stole from the we just stole from the Tuffles. But he did have one thing. He said, if you give it to don't hurt Asuka. And then he dies. And I don't think I need to be a genius to know he was talking about you, girlie. Good work. Tricking some dumb ass lizard into taking care of you so that you can take him out. So we can wipe out this worthless planet. And I'm actually proud. Tell you what, we're planning on forming a little pirate crew after we get through on this walk. Once we're through with that, how about you join us, and then ravage the universe? We can have everything. Money, gold, jewelry, women, or men in your case. I'm not sure what your preference is, but you know, we can have everything. He then once again extends his hand towards Asuka. Asuka's eyes are just stranded on him. Glacier was dead, and she was his last thought. Not only that, but not only was he dead, she could bear that, but these savages had actually whipped pieces of him off. The leader, Tanger, was already wearing Glacier's chest piece. The other one seemed to also be wearing parts of his hide as well. Parts of his as well. Wearing arm braces. They mutilated a living being and took his body parts as trophies. Asuka just stared up at Tanger. So Tanger actually thinking she was about to say yes, because he couldn't imagine why she would say no. Until he looked at her and he saw her face was gradually changing. He got on her level and was like, huh? Wait, that can't be. There's not even a full moon. Tanger struggled against the now massive fist that was holding him in its clutches. As the two partners in crime looked up in shock, as Asuka's body started to contort, it started to grow into an orange great ape, fueled purely by rage and vengeance, and for the first time in Asuka's life, raw, unbridled hatred. They didn't deserve to die. Hatred. Asuka couldn't even form words, he was so mad. However, she had the presence of mind to know who to attack and who not to. Grabbing Tanger by his whipping Glacier's chest piece completely off, he just squeezes Tanger in her hands, hearing the bones crack all over his body. And then once it's over, it was going good until one of his cronies actually, so to get a shot, actually had to get a shot off at her head. Causing her grip to loosen ever so slightly, so with Tanjiro actually being able to get out, only for him to immediately fall to the ground as his spine had been completely snapped. Now, taking the chance, Asuka then stopped straight onto him, crushing him into bloody paste. She then roared up into the sky as Tanjiro's two cronies started to absolutely panic. However, they couldn't just run away, regardless of if he was a giant, was a great ape, and they didn't know how. Both of them knew what they needed to do. Rushing into the ship and stealing a Saiyan space pod. They both inserted them right onto the ground. And by both, I mean one, as in ways Asuka actually managed to grab the one carrying the space pod, and to fall, and as he grabbed them, she started to open her maw as he tossed them into the air and absolutely incinerated the right twin. The left twin just staring up in anger and rage. Violence truly begets violence. He gets into the space pod. Unfortunately, not to get away, as he too starts to transform into an Uzaru, the original one that you would see Goku transform into. Both of Uzaru just stared and waved at each other. Flare raging emerald green eyes meets a bloodshot red, as both of them just start punching at each other with all the force they have in their bodies. Asuka being pushed back as the white twin is actually pushed back as well. Entire city blocks are completely decimated by this epic fight between epic Saiyan battle as it wages on. Akosia didn't really have a true full moon, so they've never seen anything like this. But now that they have, it's truly a spectacle and a horror to behold. After the Akosian soldiers that are left try to subdue the dueling Saiyans, only to be caught in the crossfire as a white twin accidentally. There's a fire blast of his own, shooting at anything that comes close to him, whether it be civilian or whether it be defender, and especially if it's another orange great ape that just massacred his brother and his friend. Asuka is a great ape, of course, naturally, since she had her increase in power by about 64. She has a power level of 6400 now, so now she has a 65,000 power level as a great ape, Zoru. Well, the other Saiyan was only slightly weaker, with a power level of 55,000, meaning he has a power level of 5,500. Meaning he has a power level of 55,000 as a great ape. So the difference is there. However, the older Saiyan has far more experience in his great ape form than Asuka. So while he doesn't have as absolute control over it as someone like Vegeta, he has enough control over it to not let his emotions blind him. And whereas Asuka, it does seem to be a natural in the form, she is letting her emotions blind her quite a bit. She's facing the people that literally murdered her father figure, and the guy who's been taking care of her for all these years. So it's at this point that Asuka is just kind of done playing games. As both of them.
Let me clean this up. Hey, put some clothes on.
Asuka and Kiwai's battle started to actually shake the entire planet of Akosia's. And the two of them fought within the city, almost reducing large portions of it to ash and rubble. And reducing anyone that came from. And while Asuka did at least restrain herself from hurting any of the civilians intentionally, Kiwi couldn't give less of a shit and actually began to go out of his way to actually demolish other people within But while all this is going on, the Saiyan Center was actually left somewhat untouched. Touched was Asuka. However, as Asuka took a step forward, she did a cross into the building, accidentally squashing a getting a medical chamber that almost hit I drop within a hospital on her left. However, she just missed her by a couple inches, quickly making sure she didn't step. But anyway, once he was almost completely blindsided by Kiwai's punch that landed straight in her side of her neck, causing her to gag for breath as Kiwai also grabbed her and then began to spin her, grabbed her and then the suplex her right into the set of buildings, crushing it in the inhabitants. And then Asuka got up, furious as he shot out another blast of fire. It was another burning, straight at Kyrie. We only put him, that hit him dead in the chest. However, he completely got up, rage and hate fueling his endurance as he fighting Asuka, who was slowly but surely somewhat coming to her senses as he looked around and saw the damage they had done. Some of the blasts that actually happened, they didn't just completely decimate the city in the fight as he blocked a punch and just came down on him, hearing a satisfying crack on his elbow as his left right hand laid limp to his side, with him roaring in absolute pain as he came in with another punch to his face right as he was opening his mouth, absolutely breaking his jaw, or at least his little jaw is what his jaw is just hanging loose there. Yeah, Asuka didn't look on at him and raged. If she had raged, any calm she had was gone, seeing her opponent absolutely at her will. And with all of her Saiyan primal instincts just flooding into her body, all those violent and tendencies just bubbling to the surface in this one instant, as her opponent actually just sunk to, almost was on her knee, with a hand up as if trying to defend himself, but his rage and hate slowly died as his eyes were replaced with a look of almost complete fear. If Asuka was in a right mind and stated, she probably would have had mercy. She probably would have done what she was about to do. However, when she looked at him, when she did look at him and was about to, she looked down and saw that he actually still had that pendant that he stole from Glacier. Those wristbands that they had, as they were modified, causing him to stretch along with the arms. And the arm that he was blocking with, that was the exact one that the bracelet pendant was on. Seeing this, Asuka reached up and seeing this, Asuka just couldn't take it anymore. The rage, the anger, the sadness, everything that happened up there, they just came flowing in a violent storm as he looked on. In the Kiwi, yes, crashing in the Kiwi, until only when his screaming and pure agony, his body was acids, and then those acids were put into molecules, and then those molecules were completely atomized, and all leaving a massive in-size crater right where the part of the city had been actually shooting into space as soon as Wade Ape Eyes finally died down from the waves of incarnates he had just turned into. He then just looked around, all this violence, destruction, he had finally come to his senses. Unfortunately, it had been too late. He looked around and saw everything that had happened. He looked and saw Glacier's home had actually somewhat been ruined, possibly by the flying debris. He looked up at some of the choppers that were around, and looked at some of the spaceships that were surveying the area. The survivors that were crawling from the street, from ruined buildings. He even looked at the science building, saw that there was a hole that had been stepped into. Luckily, he didn't think anyone was dead, because he had to leave the sense of mind and no one would likely be there at that time. But even if they were, they likely would have fled, and she wasn't sure that she would even want to go see if they were okay. They would know she did this. Everyone now knew that she did this. And whatever reason she could give, it was purely because she was enraged. Which would only add to the Saiyan hate that was on the planet already. If anything, this would just add to Saiyan revulsion and wanting to exterminate the species. But she quickly shook that thought out. There's no way anyone would just want an entire species exterminated because the power would do. But either way, as Asuka calmed down, she got out of her grade 8 form. But as she got out of her grade 8 form, she quickly realized that she was, for lack of a better word, underclothed. Realizing she would need at least a couple some clothing, then before she even began to do anything. She tried looking around for something, anything, until she realized the gift that the Saiyan had actually given her. Going into the bag, she actually came out with actually went into it and came out with a good assortment of clothing as he went to the ship and found out that they were basically clothes he could change into. Breathing in and out, she looked on at the cities he had once called home before everything had gone so very wrong. She also realizing that she might have just incinerated any and all pieces of Glacier's outfit that she could find, until she looked down and saw that, until she kind of played of his natural armor, he held it to her as he got into the ship, and then took out a belt that was in the bag as he put it in. As he actually put it in, and inserting it into the placeholder, into the empty placeholder, considering it was a customizable belt, and then just put it up. That way, there's always gonna be a piece of you with me, she said as he looked on, as he just pressed the button Glacier had always taught her to. And from that point onwards, the ship went into the sky, and considering there were already a bunch of ships and escape pods coming in and out of the city, nobody really paid much mind to it. As Glacier as it was as even though it was like a Saiyan pod, the Saiyans got the escape pods from, you know, several different Frieza races. It's called a Saiyan pod, but like it does look like other pods, so no one really bothers Asuka as he exits out of the planet's atmosphere and goes straight towards planet Vegeta. However, one person actually is watching her leave. Ice Drop just looks on and she sees Asuka leave, knowing she probably could have shot down this pod while she was in it, but she was gone now. As long as she stayed away, that's all that mattered. Surveying the damage done to her planet, she did, however, say she would make Asuka pay if she ever found her again. And then she just jets off to go find a new city to live in, just like that. And from then on, we now start off the final chapter of Asuka, of her life on planet Vegeta, in the next video, which will be the last video because the artist wants to make her own manga about it, and I respect that. But I had a lot of fun making Asuka's story, and I hope all of you had fun reading it and get ready for the final installment of Asuka's journey. So, stay faithful, my brothers, and thanks for tuning in. Until next time.